Shalom Aleichem. Mishnah Yomi is holding in Gittin, chapter 7, Mishnah Gimel, third Mishnah. Zei gitich im moti. The husband says to his wife, as he gives her the paperwork, this is your get if I die. Or zei gitich im moti b'choli zei. He's ill. He says, this is your get if I die from this illness. Or he says, zei gitich la'achar mita. This is your get effective after death. Lo amar klum. He has said nothing legally valid. It is not a get. There is no get after death. So in these cases, the woman, at the end of the day, after he's dead, she is an almana, a widow, and not a gerusha. Now what about mihayom imati? From today, when I die, me'achshav imati, from right now, when I die, hareze get. This is a valid get. Now she's given the get right now, but it's not effective. The triggering event is when the husband passes away. Then the get is effective retroactively from that moment. Now, what about a case mehayom, from today, ul achar mita, and after death? Mishnah says get ve'eno get. This is a get and not a get, meaning we're really not sure. Now, the Bartner explains from the Gemara, we're not sure if he means that it should be effective from right now, but he's kind of being wishy-washy, or maybe his achar mita, after death, it's a retraction of the first statement. So does he mean to say both things, or does he mean to say la'achar mita, to retract the mehayom? So what are the consequences of having this suffix, wishy-washy sort of get? Imet, if he dies, meanwhile, choletzit, v'lo mitya bemet. The woman would have to undergo chalitza, again, if there were no children from this marriage, and he has a brother. So then the brother is responsible, is on the hook, either to perform chalitza or yibum. But in this case, we're not sure if she was divorced or not. So we can't do yibum, but she might have still been married. So we have to do chalitza before the widow or divorcee, say we're not sure, can actually marry someone else. Now the Mishnah adds a related case. Zei gitech, here's your get, mehayom, from today, im mati, if I die, mecholi zei, from this illness. We're dealing with a very sick husband. He's bedridden. He's not, he doesn't want to leave his wife subject to yibum from his brother, but he wants to stay married as long as he can, even though he seems like he's on his last legs here. But then, v'amid v'halach b'shuk, he gets up from this illness. He's able to walk around outside. But after that, v'chola, he takes ill again, v'met, and then he passes away after this. So, omdim noto, we have to make an estimation. Really, you'd have to get doctors involved, experts, and figure out what's going on. Im machmat choli rishon met. If he died from the first illness, if it was a reoccurrence of the first illness, hareze gets, then it's a valid get, because after all, he died from that particular illness. Im love, if it was unrelated, God forbid he was hit by a bus after he had recovered, ain't no get. Then that's not a get, because his condition was the get would be effective if he dies from this particular illness. Now, Mishnah Daled returns to the case we saw in Mishnah Gimel, where the man says, Hareze gitech me'achshav imeti, or mehayom imeti. So he's saying, it's effective from right now when I pass away. So the thing is, are they really 100% still married? After all, she's holding a get. That get is going to be valid because everybody, eventually everyone goes. The only thing certain in life are death and taxes. So what is their marital situation meanwhile? Well, the husband's still alive, but she's holding this get that will become active as soon as he dies. So lo tit yached imo, she can't be alone with him, eli bifnei edim, unless there are people present that, you understand, if they're alone together and they are intimate as a husband and wife, then we are concerned they actually just got remarried through that physical act. We'll learn about in Masechet Kedushin that intimacy is a way to establish a Kedushin, the first stage of a Jewish marriage, when there's intention for such. Now, since this couple has been married, and they're still kind of sort of quasi-married, waiting for him to pass away, they might intend for such an act to be a renewal of vows, we'll call it that, and we might be concerned that the get is no longer valid, and they are fully married. The Mishnah adds, afilu evid, even if it's, not a fully free man, afilu shivcha, or a female servant, chutz mishivchata, but not her own personal servant, who helps her get dressed and sees her in states of undress, because she's not embarrassed in front of that particular servant who helps her out, in the bedroom, to do things in the bedroom. So the Mishnah asks, mahi ba'otana yamim, what is her marital status during those days, in between when she got a get that was al tanai on the condition mehayom, that it's going to be effective from now, from achshav or from hayom, when he passes away. So Rabbi Yehuda Omer ke'eshet ish l'kol devreha. Rabbi Yehuda says she's considered a fully married woman until the husband actually does pass away. And consequently, if there's any act of marital infidelity, that is a death sentence for a married woman and for, of course, the man involved. Rabbi Yossi disagrees. He says, Migoreshet, she's divorced, ve'ena Migoreshet. And she's also not divorced. So she's sort of in this in-between quasi-suffix status where, yes, she's holding the get. Yes, it's going to be effective when he dies, but Lamaisa, he's still alive. And the Bartner explains, based on the Gemara, that actually the Mehayom case, if it was, many days ago, or Me'achshav case, would be pretty obvious that it's a suffix here, and there's no yichud, and, it's just suffix eshet ish. But we're dealing with a case the Bartner brings that where he said this get is effective the moment before I die. So it's effective when he's still alive, but right before he passes away, the moment before he passes away, that's when the get will be effective when he passes away, a minute later. So in such a case, at any given moment, this husband might die a minute later. We have no idea. So at any given moment, it is a suffix, it's a doubt if she's actually an Eshet Ish or Migoreshet. Yashar Koach, Tizkul Mitzvot.